Socialist MMA. And I got to start off by saying I appreciate all the support Fred Hampton leftists have been getting ever since we launched. I think we're like on week 6. We had our week 5, week 6. We had our official launch at the beginning of April. But we was busy today. Like I'm the only one today, but we have friends in the show. I'm gonna introduce them very soon. But check this out. I'm salty I'm missing this, but I had to talk to my friends today because Jackie is talking to the one, the only, the great Richard Wolff. So that interview will be released here very soon. I'm gonna get ready to tweet the YouTube link out so people know where to find us. But I decided to do this live because I had to talk to my friends here. I named this the Black Liberation Politics because that's kind of the mindset I have with my political beliefs. And based on what I've seen with my two friends here, this is kind of politics that they push, and this is kind of politics that I agree with. I think this should be the path of the Black left: is fiercely advocating for your community. Stop worshiping and standing politicians and the ruling class. So that's why I couldn't think of anyone better to have on Skye Daddy, my good friend of the show, Fred Hampton leftist. How you doing, Skye Daddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this topic.
Absolutely, I'm super hyped too. I need to get this. I need to get this YouTube link tweeted out. That's what I'm working on now. But another reason why I had named this episode "Black Liberation Politics" because I'm excited that I finally get to talk to a new Fred Hampton leftist, new friend of the show, Afeni. How you doing? I think she's muted.
Hey, y'all hear me?
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
Can you hear me?
We're still getting people in. Thank you guys for watching. We got people on the Twitch and the YouTube side. Thank you for watching Vegan Succubus, Legan Berry Jam Master on the Twitch side as well. Let me tweet let people know we're live. I'm live with discussing Black. I always like to engage with the chat and the people who are watching us as well. So if you are checking us out, feel free to leave any questions. If we have any time, we'd be happy to get to that. I wanted to let you guys know why I have a thing on the show. Let me post this last link where I announced it, and then we can actually get started. Usually when we get started, just let me know how you guys doing. Let me know that the stream running well. It's running okay as well. Where the hell did that tweet go? So also, while I'm doing that, Skye Daddy also, you thinking about making a podcast, aren't you? Skye Daddy dropped. Well, she'll be right back. Let me can't find the tweet. Oh, there we go. I'm just tweet the link because I also want to play the video and show you guys how I found my friend Afeni here. She went viral not too long ago. And I want to ask you about how that happened, like where that interview was taking place in your mindset. But first, I want to play the video so people can kind of understand why I invited you on and why I enjoy your brand of politics here. So I'm gonna let them know we are live now. Okay. So check this guy. While we wait for Skye Daddy to come back on the call, thank you for watching, Kyle. Colin's in the house as well. Let's check this video out, and we're gonna watch it because this is very, very powerful stuff. I saw this, and I'm like, preach. Because this is a kind of mindset that I have. Let me know if you guys can see this as well. Actually, I need to turn the audio on. Share audio. Let me know how to stream. We already got plenty of people on the YouTube side. We're just now getting started, but we don't watch this video. Am I saying that correctly, Afeni?
Afeni.
Sorry about that. Givity is in the house. JB Fine was just on Ron Pacone, and he killed it. He killed the game. All right, so let's play this video. JB and RJ was also on the Vanguard. Like we just out here spreading the message of Black liberation politics, and much respect to Ron Pacone. Check the episode out he did with JB Font. Check out us on the Vanguard. Jackie talking to the great Richard Wolf right now. So this is you guys gotta hit the bell. You guys gotta subscribe. Check us out because we are out here now. Look now, check out my friend here. Look at this video. I saw this as it released. And then when this video released, everyone was like, bro, you gotta have her on the show. Everyone was like, bro, she's exactly the firebrand that I want to promote because I consider myself a citizen journalist, a real independent media head. So instead of just interviewing people who like have Harvard degrees or CIA intelligence officers, that kind of stuff, the elite class, the only people who are usually allowed to have a voice in the political discourse, which is why they hate me, because they hate that the average person can share their political opinion. So I want to bring these people on our show and have these conversations. So check this out. Let me know if you guys can hear it as well. I'm still getting used to this new platform, but let's check out what my sister had to say. Well, it's glitched. So that's the problem I had with Hats before. Let me reset it. I would be actually pretty sad if I don't get a chance to share this. I just gotta restart it because it was a glitch. They messed the audio up. That was painful to hear.
Technical difficulties as well.
That's an audio issue I really wish I knew how to fix. That's upsetting. Cause I never did this before. I'm trying to figure out how to fix that.
It's a learning experience.
Yeah, it's all good. The point of this video. Have you seen the video? Do you remember the main point you was making, Afeni?
Yeah, so that video is actually from December 11th or something like that, I believe. Like
Oh,
that was
so it was
around
well
the
back.
time. Yeah, that was around the time that the Trump supporters were coming to like infest DC. And this is like the third time that has kind of like circulated the internet this way. And I was actually really surprised that it still was like kind of politically relevant, just considering that I was talking like who I was talking to in that video. But I feel like the points that I was making, just about the fact that the elite is going to separate us by race because they don't want us to see the solidarity in the class. They don't want us to see that we're going to be closer to homelessness than we'll ever be to Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. Like,
Yes.
we want us to continue to fight amongst ourselves. And it's not to say that there aren't white people in this country that openly uphold white supremacy because that's just what they want to do. But I feel like there are a lot of white people that are really just lost, and because the Republican Party has really just made white identity politics their platform, and white people can feel comfortable in their racism under the Republican Party, that's the only reason why they've been able to keep the stronghold on them that they have, because they've gotten nothing, absolutely fucking nothing. So
yeah, I believe there's a concerted effort to keep people divided based on where they come from, religion, skin color. That's why if you follow my politics and the information I put out there, I don't engage in that. Like, our community gets nothing from that divide. The liberal class they love the identity politics divide because it makes them feel better. It helps them solidify their power because it allows them to pitch fear of the neighbor, fear of just a random racist Republican, even though their politics is actually has a lot to do with white supremacy itself, and they don't even realize that. So they rather us be separated than us actually have a conversation about what will actually help the working class as a whole. I made a point of making that the second thing I write about. The topic of the conversation was how Medicare for All, for example, is the most pro-black policy platform that you can advocate for. And there are a lot of great pro-black policies that you can advocate for, reparations being another one. The reason why I wrote about Medicare for All in particular was because you can get a lot of black capitalists to support reparations, like I do. But the reason why a lot of capitalists support that because they know that they will just get that money back. through predatory capitalism. So you have people that work for big pharma that work in the health insurance companies. They would love nothing more for reparations to go out there because then they can collect on the medical debt that the black community holds about 35% of, despite us only being 13% of the population. Do not misunderstand what I'm saying, because I always gotta be careful when I talk about this. This is not me speaking out against reparations. I'm very supportive of the idea and any idea that uplifts our community. But you got to have the whole package together to pitch that. And when I pitch Medicare for all, I can pitch it as a pro-black policy, but anyone with a brain can understand how that helps the white working class as well, how that helps the Latino working class as well, in many different communities. It's a it's an amazing policy. Just for example, in the liberal class, what they want you to do, and they did this throughout the course of the campaign, was they're like, "Oh, well, this is just something that white people want. Like black people are not progressive. They don't want this kind. They don't want these kind of policies, even though that's the exact opposite of the case." I want to bring Skye Daddy in here because this is something that we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
And I see like the divide whenever I see people get mad whenever black leftists or any leftists in general want to talk to like conservatives or even people that they deem to be out of bounds. I notice their location is like California, New York, you know, these blue areas where they can shut out that part of that community. But me being from red state, I don't have a lot of options to who I can talk to, so I have to talk to these conservatives. So what are your thoughts on opening dialogue to other people, and how do you convince people to come to your side? That's the important thing. Bring them to your side, not agreeing with them on their politics. So, what's your take on that, Skye Daddy?
Well, obviously, you know that they fucking cannot stand, the unity thing, and I always get shit for it. It just comes from a place of realism. I think it's just such a dream world where we can do this with only being so picky. Like at the end of the day, it's a necessity. So you can go about it as a man, I gotta work with those crackers, or you can be like, you know what? Let me empathize. Let me see where they're coming from, and see how I can talk to them. Because people always try to like scapegoat it, like, oh, you wanna unite with racists. What the fuck are you talking about? Of course, we're not talking about uniting with racists. You know what I'm saying? It's such an extreme jump. They use that as some fucking strawman. It's such an extreme jump. No one's making that argument. And hey, you know what, guys? Let's just go ahead and do what the white supremacists want so we can get along. No one ever says it when they speak about unity. But at the end of the day, there's going to be those people like that, and we don't need to work with them. But I think the thing that needs to come is getting out of our ego. Everybody wants to kind of speak in their term for their people. We need to figure out how we have even common ground that we can all benefit from. Like when a libertarian says, hey, I don't want the state policing, I agree with community police, but I think everyone's killed equally by the police. I don't care. Okay, good. There we go. That's some person I don't need to go further with. Because at the end of the day, their end result is to defund the police. That's it. I don't need to sit there and have them see my exact view, like, hey, but black people are a smaller percentage. They're definitely targeted more, and la da 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 da. No, do you want to defund the police or not? Because at the end of the day, the person the authoritarian, you can't even talk to. So I think people get caught up on semantics. So I think with unity, the biggest problem is none of us want to come out of ourselves and find where we have common ground and not care about fucking identity politics. Because people they love to talk about the culture war and like, oh, you're a reductionist. No, I'm a realist. Like it makes no sense. We're gonna die fighting this culture war. So I just think that we all need to kind of come together and unite on common things and then go about our way. Malcolm X worked with that fucking dude who was an actual white supremacist because they both fucking agreed that, hey, we don't ever need a mix. They were both segregationists. They literally came together on that. You take your white racist people over here, I'm going to take my pro-black people over fucking here, and we're going to do what the fuck we're going to do, but we're both going to understand that the government's going to keep us both from uplifting our communities. And that's what I think some people need to accept. We're all not going to be able to get together. I don't believe in separating off race, but some people are going to, and I think that's fine. Like, you go over there, they go over there, let's do that. People need to stop being so wrapped up in identity politics and the culture war so we can get this thing moving. And that's why I think it's in the way of unity for a cause.
Yeah, and I want to bring you right in here, Afeni, in this part of the conversation, because I always find it funny because you brought up how they always want to straw man and make up whenever I say I'm open to work with right wingers to help my agenda, they always say, "Oh, you want to work with racists?" And I always find it funny because these white saviors, that's what they are. They are really people who believe they are saving our community. My response to them is, I'm not sure you're not racist. Like, you understand? Like, whenever I work with someone who from white America, to be honest, I'm working with you because I believe there's a benefit to my community. Like, what gives you the idea that I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt that you're not racist? For one, the reason why I say that is because anyone who's been following what's been going on with a lot of these white streamers, they're being outed as racist. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was a big white streamer. He had a lot of followers too. He was pretty well known, socialist, done left, something like that. And he had comments from like 2019, like during the Trump era. During the same time, these same people was telling us how racist MAGA was. During the same time, we had white streamers that was saying, like, they were dropping the inbound. He said you want to colonize Africa or some shit. Like, literally the most hardcore racism you can think of was coming out of the white left. And I guarantee you, at the same time, he was being an insane racist. He was saying, "Oh, anyone who's don't want to vote for Joe Biden, they're a racist. They support Donald Trump. We got to get Donald Trump out of office because he's a super white supremacist. Meanwhile, he's a racist." So my point is, like, why do you guys think I give? Why do you guys give yourself the benefit of the doubt of your racism? Because there's a lot of problematic stuff I see out a lot of the white left. If you're a white ally, you friend the show, you know who you are, but you know who I'm talking about. There's no need for me to drop names. So I want to bring this in because I want to continue the conversation. I just want to let people understand that point. That when we form the coalitions, I'm not forming the coalitions with the mindset that you're perfect on black issues. I'm forming this coalition because you're going to help me get health care. You're going to help me get a living wage. You're going to help me end the military industrial complex. You will help me defund the police because those are the people I consider a white ally. If you're someone who think you're a white ally, but you still believe in funding these giant forces of oppression, you're not. You're the white moderate MLK we're talking about. So I'll bring Finney in here. What's your thoughts on forming this multiracial world-class movements, or do you got anything you want to add to the discussion as it is now?
So I think that building coalitions is probably the most important thing that we can do to actually get liberation and have a revolution. To say that there needs to be some ideological like homogeny amongst those people in order for us to get to where we're going, I think that's like really unrealistic. And I think it really puts a big like stopping point into like it puts a big stop in front of like what we're trying to do. A lot of like the white left, they don't really speak for black people, and when they are talking about these things, they don't really speak to how these things like directly affect black people. When they talk about workers issues, they don't talk about how black people were disproportionately left out of unions. And when we talk about healthcare, we don't talk about the healthcare disparities that are amongst the black community. When we talk about education and getting education for everybody, it's very rarely like there's very rarely a focus on any of the white left or of any of these leftists that say, they speak for the left and the left party, all these leaders those people have decided to exalt, when we're not actually running on a black centered politic that is about like building solidarity within the working class, then I feel like we're going to continuously running into these issues because yes, these things will help everybody. Yes, everybody will benefit from these things, but these are things that I feel like, especially black people, especially with the kind of like chokehold that the Democratic Party has on black people. I feel like it's very important for like people to frame every single thing from now on from a black perspective, and also connect it to the working class that way, and actually start to build those connections, those bridges, because people really feel like this shit has nothing to do with them, like all the time. Like all these white right wingers that fucking follow the Republican Party and that follow everything that these people tell them to do, that aren't actually getting anything, that aren't actually getting healthcare, that aren't actually getting education, that don't have clean water in their neighborhoods either. we are like what are y'all really doing? Like y'all are literally fighting
Yes.
your own interests. So we have to I feel like we have to kind of come to a point where it's really just about the greater good of us all, and it's not really about how everybody feels about everyone's ideologies, but we've all really just connected on the fact that we are all human beings that are suffering under this system, and that the elites that are fucking ruling over us don't actually give a fuck about us at the end of the day, and they are the enemy no matter what.
Well said. You brought up so many good points here, and I kind of want to bring this comment from Paul Smith on the YouTube side. Thank you guys for leaving the good comments. I love engaging with the chat in a positive way. That is, um, Paul Smith said the white left has no interest in reparations for African Americans. So, and that kind of bring up your point as well. Is like who are they actually fighting for? And I've been ringing the alarm bells for a while because it seemed like a lot of these people, and this is the last time I'm saying this caveat because if you're an ally, I shouldn't have to drop these caveats. But you guys know who I'm talking to. Like if you're a white ally, you know I'm not talking about you. That's the last time I'm saying this caveat. If you're an ally, I shouldn't have to say that. Anyway, but there's a lot of people on the left. It seems like the only thing they care about is saving a little bit of money on healthcare. And as someone who was a strong advocate of police abolition and defund the police, at the very beginning of this movement, I saw how they approached that issue. Just for example, because there was a point where the push for defund the police was not popular in terms of the mainstream American public. It always was supported by a majority of Black Americans, though. That's important to remember. So what is happening there? I mean, we have a white liberal class who's fighting against the interests of the Black community while propping up Black death and trying to politically capitalize on that.
Yep.
So I recognize that as a giant problem, as big as a problem as the hardcore right winger. So the hardcore right winger, what they would do, and they would post a picture of like Breonna Taylor and say, "Yeah, I'm glad she's dead. That she deserves it." they were like, George Floyd deserved to die. Those people are easy to beat. Like those people actually help our movement because they were so dumb and they're so radicalized. It's easy to shift public perception against them, and that's exactly what we did. I covered my show how defund the police went from deeply underwater. Now we have majority independents that support it. Why that happened? Because they see the dumbass right wingers like, oh yeah, these people are bootlickers. I don't agree with them. So they help us. The right wingers do. The liberal class hurts us.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that, these are the people who have Black Lives Matter in their profile. They claim they're an ally. They share videos of our brothers and sisters dying because it helps them get a lot of likes and clicks, right? So they use Black death, they use Black exploitation to get the illusion that they're an ally. So then what do they do with that political capital that they just now received because the Black community believe they're an ally? They do things like propose the George Floyd Act that gives more money to the police that kills and oppresses our community. So what does this mean? This means, well, I just told you guys why the right wing is easy to defeat on this issue. I won't give Skye that because I want to get your opinion on what I'm saying here very shortly. They're easy to beat. The liberal class, they hijack our movement, convince people they're on our side, and then use that political capital to prop up the system that's oppressing us. And people wonder why I attack Democrats all the time. Why would I attack the clowns? The Candace Owens, they're helping us. When Candace Owens trends on Twitter because she said George Floyd is a thug who deserved to die, that helps us. What's your thoughts, Skye Daddy?
No, I agree. I really have a strong disdain for liberals. Like, at the end of the day, I really just think that liberals and Republicans, like all the mainstream people, they're really the same. They really are. They're just the untouchables people as well. It's really, they're just authoritarians. They're just going to go along with anything these people say. I really don't think there's much you can do with a liberal, because a liberal is the only liberal because they're propagandized. There's no inner thought, there's no inner locus, there's no intuition, there's no facts. There's literally so many people who on the left and right who aren't Republican and Democrats, and I could never agree with them. I could never work with them. But they're on the far out. They're literally the only way to get to a liberal is out propagandize them. And we don't own any fucking media conglomerates. You know what I'm saying? We can't run these multi-million campaigns and get fucking Beyonce to fucking go and promote fucking Hillary Clinton and shit. I ain't forget that shit. You know what I'm
Hell
saying?
no, we never forget that shit.
Shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's so detrimental. They get all this money and they get all these celebrities and they just propagandize. You can't do anything with Republicans and Democrats. There's nothing you can do. So I disagree. If liberals are the worst, they really do hurt the cause, and Republicans, they're just easy.
Yeah, no one. I don't think no one's born a liberal. Like this is. I'm gonna bring you right in here, Afeni, right there. This thought, because in order to turn me to a liberal, it took so much propaganda, and it took me a long time to unlearn that propaganda. And this is what they teach you in public schools. This is the propaganda they hammer you, and then that turns you to a liberal. And then the same thing for conservatives. Like there's different conservative areas that are taken over by the Bible Belt, where they preach conservative beliefs. So you have liberal areas, you have conservative areas, and the only reason why people arise to those conclusion is through stuff like religion and through stuff like propaganda. If it wasn't for those things, people would never reach the natural conclusions. Like I think people are naturally anarchists. I think people are naturally anti-authoritarian, and that's where humanity generally leads to. So that's why they have to pump you with propaganda, and that's kind of where the origins of religions. I don't like talking about religion a lot, but religion was started just so they can help control people. So because they're like, our people are kind of wild and out of control, so we gotta have a moral structure in which they can follow. That when the church used to have a lot of political capital and used to control governments. So I think like being authoritarian is not in our DNA, and that's why you have like people who are considered problematic kids. Like the people who are considered problematic kids, those are just people who are fighting the propaganda bullshit they were being fed. The people who rather they learn better are humanity, the humans that grew up hunting and gathering, competing, being active, uh, like catching fish, gathering berries. So there are kids that are wired that way, where they want to go play. Like I was one of those people. Like sit me down in the classroom, I'm going crazy. Like I'm not wired that way. But it takes years and years and years and years of propaganda to get people to be like, all right, I got to sit here in this cubicle. I got to do this work. So I don't know if you guys know, but Rockefeller, he was one of the people that helped design the original our education system and a lot of these upper class oligarchs. So they are open about this. When they designed our education system, they said they're not trying to create critical thinkers. What they're trying to do, they want to create obedient workers.
Yep.
And they did a really goddamn good job doing that, didn't they?
Amazing job.
They did a goddamn good job doing that. So they took people like me who, I mean, me and my friends, I got my family in the background here. They can attest. When we was growing up, we did nothing but wrestle. We did nothing but fight. We played football. I mean, that's what we did. We want to move. We want to bounce around. And then when we break, we play video games because that's like we can relax, but we still active. Like this is how we learn. This is how kids of humanity have grown up throughout the course of society. But capitalism has trained people. This new education system that was founded by oligarchs train people to be good worker ants, be nice authoritarians. That's kind of where they lead. I'm sorry I went on a little mini rant, but I want to bring Afeni in there. What's your thought? You got anything you want to add to that?
I just really liberals are just
Let them know. Let them know. Like we don't hold back here.
like being a liberal in this country does not really mean shit because honestly, like this country is already tacked very far to the right, even though a lot of, the, political body, the people that are actually like electing people, even though like a lot of our, political leanings are probably a little farther to the left because most of us are starving and we can't, afford housing or food or anything else. But, naturally we're going to want more assistance, we're going to want more things. So but liberals, I just really don't understand them because they say and they co-opt the language of radical movements. They say that they care about human rights, they say that they care about these things, but they're literally very willing to uphold this system that is harming so many people and also harming them in order to just be comfortable. And I'm not really sure if it's out of just straight malice or if it's just out of fear, if they're really just so fearful of whatever the world may look like without, the, oppressive structure that they are used to. But I think that a lot of liberals just really need to wake up and they need to be honest with themselves. Like, I mean, if you're a closeted racist, it's okay to say that. If you don't actually give a fuck about anybody else but yourself and your own money and your own, whatever, like your own success, just say that. If you're not actually, somebody who cares about other people in a deep way, say that, because your votes say it. Your fucking shallow ass bullshit ass tweets on Twitter say it. The fact that, we have mutual aid out here every fucking week and y'all not out here feeding these people. Y'all not out here standing in solidarity. Y'all are not out here donating your white liberal dollars to shit. Because if y'all were actually supporting these human rights that y'all say y'all fight so hard for, then people like, your podcast would be like, the Young Turks or one of those bullshit ass outlets that pretend to be, left and they're actually not. You would have that funding, you would have that backing. You know what I'm saying? If they actually cared about human rights. But instead, they would rather wear the costume, wear the mask, pretend to make themselves feel better while people literally get crushed under their fucking feet. I cannot fucking stand liberals. I really cannot, because they don't make any sense. You're not going to win in this system regardless. And you're sitting up here like y'all are fucking pushing this George Floyd Act, this policing reform bill. Y'all put this man's name on legislation that literally increases police budgets. Like it's crime bill, but like, with flowers on it and George Floyd's picture. Like, no, we're not. We're not doing that. We're not about to sit up here and pretend and let people fucking go and like co-opt our language and pretend like they're actual radicals that care about human rights, when honestly y'all all are just a bunch of like fucking fakers at the end of the day. Like, let's just call it what it is. Y'all support the state. Y'all want capitalism to destroy us all. Y'all don't actually give a fuck about the earth, and y'all don't actually give a good goddamn about education in this country, because y'all keep showing me that y'all do not. Y'all keep fucking pretending, and I'm very much over it. I'm so over liberals, and I got in a very long argument with that Kamala Harris supporter.
Yes.
So bad.
Put respect on her name. This is why we brought her on. Fred Hampton left his new friend the show. Put respect on her name. That's a glorious rant. You got anything you want to ask Scott Daddy?
Nah, that was just great.
That was glorious. Great. Because that was the point I was kind of making earlier before I veered off. Because the point I was making was the pub. When you look at the black community and what we was asking for, this is despite liberal propaganda that the black liberals were pushing out and a lot of the white people were pushing out, the white saviors. They were saying, oh, the people who want to defund the police, this is just upper BYZ white people. Guys, that was always a lie. Let me repeat, that was always a lie. So when people say that MAGA and Trump supporters, we can't support them because they are cultists who lie for the political agenda, that doesn't track with me. Well, that does track with me, but how is your team different? So when they were saying that, that's a blatant lie. Because 538, they will always quote this study, and to quote why defund the police was unpopular last summer, because they did a study where they looked at voters and how defund the police will change their support for a party. So the support for defund the police at the time was minus 35. Nationwide, so they pumped it out. Defund the police not unpopular. But if you actually look into the study, never ever repose at the headline. I did a segment about this before about defund. Never ever just read the headline, because headline is how they spin it. Look into the numbers. Even when it was massively unpopular, there was two groups that supported it. You know who? Democrats and black people. So you had disenfranchised communities. You had black people that were literally calling for this. But then who was the people who opposed it? It's the same 1/4 of the Democrats that don't support Medicare for all. That 20% number. So I always define who I'm talking about, because that's when I go ham. So people are like, oh, what about this? Like, yeah, there are people who are allies who are tricked by the two-party duopoly. So I want you to understand who exactly I'm talking about. I'm talking about the liberal who have Black Lives Matter on their profile, in their bio, who claim they are sympathetic to George Floyd and police killings, but then they support getting more money to the police. So those people at the time, like that was the numbers back then in the summer. I'll defund the police. After less than 1 year, despite massive media propaganda, there was a poll done right after the election that showed 55% of independents support the concept of defunding the police. 75% of Democrats. So there's a massive shift. What policy have you ever seen ever that have a shift of like plus 40, plus 50? That will happen with defund. This is despite the white liberals speaking out against it. Because you gotta remember what they were saying. Oh, we can't support defund the police because it's unpopular. Defund the police, they're radicals.
Yeah.
This is not the conservatives. This is the white liberal class. And do you guys know that the Democratic establishment, when Black Lives Matter started, it started under Obama. And then when it started, there was a memo sent to the Democratic Party that said you got to distance yourself from Black Lives Matter because we consider it an extremist group. You don't believe me? Nancy Pelosi was then asked in a town hall. I'm sad I can't play videos right now, but I think we can get through that. We'll get through this conversation without videos. But Pelosi was asked about Black Lives Matter, and what she said in response. She said, all lives matter. That's the same response the Trump supporter would give that liberals lose their mind about. Pete Buttigieg was asked about this at his town hall. What did he say? He said, I actually think all lives matter. So when people ask us why we don't like support the Democratic Party and why we see them as deeply problematic, how are people not seeing this stuff? And this is why I say America the most propagandized country in the world. It kind of goes back into the explanation I had earlier, how they program us. Because when I say propaganda, the first thing people would think about is state TV. They're like, oh, what about North Korea? What about China? What I just explained to you, how they beat people into obedience working through our education system, that's part of the propaganda I'm talking about. I was talking to a friend of mine who was watching some kid cartoons with his kid. And then the topic of policing came up. I'm not going to share his identity, but he was watching this with his small child, about 3 years old. And that program was already, when she was 3 years old, drilling into them false notions of what the police do. And he said he watched the show, he had turned off. So when I say America the most propagandized country in the world, I'm not just talking about the TV talking head, which is a big example of that, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about the system in which we grow up in that make what we are saying here is very common sense stuff. But people are like, what? You don't support the Democratic Party? What? You don't like Barack Obama? What? And I'm like, what's wrong with you? like, are you kidding me? You actually like these politicians? So when I tell people that I'm scared of like Biden the same way I'm scared of Donald Trump, stuff like this is exactly why. Let me see if I can find the link. Because me and Skye, we talk about this all the time. I arrived at the position of being anti-authoritarian before I became a leftist. Leftism is what naturally follows that, I believe. But I grew up during the era of the Iraq War. I learned about NSA spying. Like, these are the kind of things that radicalized me first, and then I learned more about economics, class solidarity, and all that stuff. So check this out. I want to get Skye Daddy's thoughts on this. Give me a second to share this here. This says Biden team may partner with private firms to monitor extremist chatter online. So this is a very common theme I'm seeing with the Biden administration. So the entire time Joe Biden was looking at Donald Trump. Joe Biden, his criticism of Donald Trump was that he was an amateur at maintaining the status quo. During the course of the campaign, he was running and outflanking Trump on the right on law and order and foreign policy. And people were acting like I was crazy when I was calling it out, but he was saying it. He was saying stuff like Trump is actually the one who wanted to defund the police. Trump is actually the one who's weak on law and order. It's like the people don't even pay attention to stuff. And this is an example of state power grab that Biden is trying to do that Donald Trump wishing a million years he could accomplish. Because Biden is going to get this done because he had massive media complicity. Now, what's the danger in this? The same danger in the other story that I covered as well. Let me pull this one up because it's kind of I'm gonna get Skye in this as well because I covered this on my show on my YouTube channel because this is the same theme of the Biden administration. Check this out. This was actually defeated. I gotta turn my ad blocker off. Thank God the courts actually defeated this. Biden administration urges the Supreme Court to let cops enter their homes and seize their guns without a warrant.
Yeah, I remember that shit. I was like, okay.
So I bring those two stories up. So only you guys can hear that anyway. But they have the story where they want to advocate spying on Americans. They advocate giving the police more power. Because, by the way, you guys understand that this is a Fourth Amendment power grab, right? This is Joe Biden fighting against the Fourth Amendment because he's trying to expand on those powers. This pertains to the Supreme Court, and you have Brett Kavanaugh, who's a extreme right winger, who's like, bro, what? Like you can't, like we can't expand the Fourth Amendment. So Brett Kavanaugh, Roberts, and all the liberal judges, they came together and they actually expanded on Fourth Amendment rights. Where they said the police have to make sure they have probable cause before they can arrest you, and that's what the liberals were fighting against. So this is why the liberal class terrifies me. And I'm gonna bring Skye Daddy after this because you know what don't scare me, and I'll hang out. All my friends are black. I'm in the black community here. You know what does not scare me, and what scares none of my friends? We are not thinking to ourselves, "Oh my God, the Proud Boys! Oh my God, the Boogaloo Boys! Oh my God!" They're not like no. This is I am not scared of those people at all. In fact, I invite them. Like I dare you. Like that's kind of my response to them. I don't know no one in my life who is stressed about these groups that the liberal class focused on. You know who I'm scared of? We scared of the police. When I'm riding my friends, oh shit, there's a cop over there. Oh, what? Make sure that you don't got no reason for them to pull you over. The system that the Democratic Party and Joe Biden has built is what I'm afraid of. Once again, not to say that these other groups aren't problematic, but we talk about the man. We talk about Joe Biden. And that's exactly what we're referring to. So what's your thoughts on that story about Biden wanting to spy on Americans and the fact that he wanted to siege guns and expand and still Fourth Amendment protections? What's your thoughts on that, Skye Day? Does that concern you?
No, I think it's fine. No. For one, you know how y'all use the political map. I don't use it like that, left and right. I think you have 11 authoritarians and then you have right authoritarians.
Yeah.
Like a right anti-authoritarian, like they're never going to want to send you to jail for weed, even if they're on the right. So what I think really what they do with this trying to say that we have left is they just try to put authoritarianism under left. That's just what they're trying to do right now. That's when the liberals are in, that's what they do. They try to put authoritarianism over light, and then on right wing with like Trump, they try to put authoritarianism under, patriotism pretty much. So I think that for one, like also the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys, that whole thing, the reason they're focusing on these groups is to take in laws just like this. They need to create a boogeyman and create these problems and, focus on the fucking six, the fucking Capitol and all that shit. They need to focus on that to bring in these laws, because if you're not scared of them and you're not distracted by the Boogaloo Boys, who are you going to be focused on? The police, the real thugs. So, I mean, I'm not surprised it's this bad. Nick, I know you're not surprised either. You definitely told everybody. But I think that what's really important is to try and, kind of cure the convolution of, because what they do, they just want, okay, the right winger, the anti-riot bill. The anti-riot bill is like almost the same law they try to pass for January 6th. They just did it for the BLM crowd because they needed to manufacture consent from right wingers. And that's what the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys right now. They're trying to manufacture consent from left and demonize them. And I don't know about all the ins and outs of the fucking organization or anything of that nature. I know plenty of people who claim Boogaloo and they don't seem like threats to me, but that's just me. But they need to create this problem to put these laws in. So I think I think this is highly problematic. I think this needs to be something, one of the most important things that we're like trying to rail against is the surveillance state. Because no matter who they say they're focusing on, the people who are always affected first is going to be affected first. Black people. It's always going to be like that. So there's never any laws. We already know it's going to be zeroed in on us first, even though it's going to be used for them. Trust me, they're going to get, that shit's going to affect them too. But I really just think this is one of the most important things that we need to rail against. And also digital rights, because now that we're on the internet and there's surveillance state, it's affecting our actual life. They're going to like put us on terror lists because we don't go on mainstream media. We're going to get hit by that first. So I think digital rights is the main thing we need to do to try and counter that. But it's concerning to say the least.
Yeah, the point you put up is exactly why I warn people, and this is a pattern that I've seen, and I'll bring you right in here, Afeni, to get your opinion on this. Is they use terrorist attacks and they use white supremacy in order to give more power to the state, and then once the state get more power, they turn that power on the black community, worker class movements, and protesters. And I don't know how people keep falling for this,
I don't
and
know.
that's exactly why I'm like, that's why they won't shut up about January 6th because they got to use something to rationalize it. So, what's your thoughts on the Biden state power grab? Because that's what I'm calling. Because we need to frame these issues correctly. The liberal class will never frame this in a way that benefits our community. And just like Skye said, you got to fight propaganda. Propaganda. I think that was Skye said that.
Yes.
And that's I'm honest. That's exactly what we are attending to do after Hampton left this. You can call it propaganda or you want, but this is us sharing our experience because our voices are shut out of political discourse. That's why we created this channel. That's why if you're enjoying this conversation, please like, subscribe, all that, because we to keep this content rolling. You guys you're gonna see more Sky Daddy and Finny as well, because these are the kind of people I want to platform. The people that will never be platformed by the standard, not even just MSNBC, but not even TYT, like not even like the standard popular white shows will even platform someone who will harshly discuss reparations. You know what I mean? So this is the media from people like leftists always say, we want to listen to people of color, but meanwhile, if you look at the most popular show, all hosted by white people, and some of these white people I like too. That's the thing. I like some of these people. Some of them are okay, but the most popular shows are white. Meanwhile, people want to claim they want to support people of color. Very interesting. But anyway, a point. If any, what do you think about the Biden state power grab? That's how I want to frame it because that's exactly what it is. And this is, I'll just tweet this out, tweet the show out. I think this is one of the biggest threats to the black community. Like, I'm not even bullshitting when I say that. So what's your thoughts on that?
I just find it very interesting that Joe Biden couldn't even really utter the words white supremacy out of his mouth when it came to describe the
Oh
display
my
that we
god.
saw on January
You just
6th. I
remind me of
find it
something.
very hilarious, you know, that you want to put all of these extra, precautions in, but you're not even really willing to name the threat that actually did what they did on January 6th is because, Joe Biden and most liberals are white supremacists regardless of what color you are. If you uphold white supremacy, you're a white supremacist. And
Yes.
so I really genuinely feel like, you know, the reason why they're doing this is it's not because they're going to start tracking these right-wing domestic terrorists. 94% of domestic terrorism has been committed by white right-wing men, but they're not surveilling them though. But I promise you they're going to use this shit to stamp out dissent because it's a lot easier for them to let these white supremacists go, to let them run, because they're upholding the very same system that they are trying to keep in place. A lot of these white supremacists are police officers. They're veterans, and I'm a veteran. I'm an anti-imperialist, anti-war veteran. And like
Yes.
but the people that are on the other side of this, of course they're going to uphold white supremacy. Of course they're going to keep trying to benefit from this system. And Joe Biden is going to make sure that he can stomp out the communities that he did not actually want to have a voice in the first place. When it came down to it, and this is why I get so irritated when people say that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're like, this fucking administration is so transformative and powerful. When you get to the root of it, they are just as horrible as the Trump administration, but they're a little more organized. That's it. They just don't put their bullshit on Front Street. The policies are the same, even with this George Floyd Policing Act. It's all performative bullshit, so they can continue to uphold white supremacy, so they can continue to have everything stay the same way that it is. So when you see things like increased surveillance, be very, very, very fearful, because they're the people that you think that they should be watching. Those are not people they're fucking paying attention to. They're watching you. They're watching us, working class people that are fucking tired of the bullshit, working class people that are tired of accepting the crumbs that they want to give us, black people that are actually trying to organize around these ideals and actually get a real comprehensive black platform out there that is actually going to benefit the black community and lift us out of this state of destitution that we are in. And it's just, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. Like, how could I be surprised that Jim Crow Joe, the author of the crime bill, the man that did
I
civil
love that you just called him that. I love it.
the man that did civil forfeiture and all these other different levels of crime bills that we saw from the 1980s to the early 2000s, Joe Biden had his hands in all of that. So why would we not expect for him to still be an authoritarian white supremacist as president? He's always been that. He's always
Demo-
hated black people.
the theme right now Democrats are using to sheep herd people back into the party is, oh, the Republicans are attacking voting rights, which they are. I don't agree with them on politically on this issue at all. But as you said, and you're killing it right now. We gotta bring you back on very soon. This is why you're friend of the show. You're killing the game right now. But they are using voting rights. Like, oh, see, the Republican Party are trying to steal voting rights from Black Americans. That's why you must support the Democratic Party. It's like Joe Biden and the Democratic Party is one of the largest instruments of white supremacy in decades. Because now, wrap your mind around this. Can you imagine how many Black men has lost their voting rights over the course of the last few decades because of the laws that Joe Biden advocated for? Don't worry, I'll wait. There was a study that had they will look into this before the 2020 election, where they said because of the policy Joe Biden implemented, around 5 million Americans lost their voting rights because of that. Now they didn't break it down by race. Now all you gotta do is take the percentage of felonies that are dished out to Black Americans. I don't have the number on top of my head, but now you can just imagine it's about well over, I think, well over 1.5 million. I'm thinking like Black people. He talking about still in voting rights. I think that's a low estimate. I gotta look at the real number. But my point is, imagine all the people who lost their voting rights because of what Joe Biden has done. And now, what's very interesting is the Democrats had a chance to overturn that and fix that. So Cori Bush forced a vote on giving voting rights to people that have felonies. Once again, we were supportive of that strategy here for Hampton leftists. Always make these politicians have to go on record so we know exactly where the fuck they stand. And that's what Cori Bush did on this issue, which we applaud. They forced a vote on this issue, and more than half of Democrats voted against giving voting rights to convicted felons. So what does that mean in context? Once again, we frame issues the correct way here. This means that over half of the Democratic Party supports the new Jim Crow. There's no other way to twist it, because that's what the new Jim Crow was. It's a system of law enforcement to give Black Americans felonies so they can disenfranchise them. It was meant to be a counteract to the Civil Rights Act. So another way to disenfranchise. That's the whole point of the new Jim Crow. The Democratic Party supports that. So while the Republican Party is bad on voting rights, you're not going to use that issue to sheep herd me back into the party that is responsible for taking insane amount of voting rights from us. Then they shun third parties off the ballots, and they gerrymander their own district. You see Jim Clyburn's district? They talk about gerrymander, but look at Jim Clyburn's district. This bullshit rubs me the wrong way, guys. And people get mad at me for just calling it out. That's all that's the only crime. They calling out the bullshit.
It's crazy to me also, because if you support the police state and if you support like mass incarceration, if you support giving more money to the police, then you definitely support the lack of voting rights in this country. Because when people get arrested in this country, they lose their citizenship. They lose certain parts of their humanity in this country, and you are completely okay with that. The Democratic Party showed you, and a lot of those very same Democrats are a lot of the ones that tweet all day. Black lives matter. Every life matters. We need comprehensive healthcare. Healthcare is a human right. These same motherfucking people that be performing and acting on, social media are the same people that just voted against Black people's voting rights. Because, 25%, 1 out of 3 Black men can expect to be incarcerated in this country. 1 out of 3. So who would that have helped the most if y'all decided to reinstate voting rights for convicted felons? Black people. That's the reason why, they didn't want to do it. And even with this whole like DC statehood thing, I support it. I live in DC. You know what I'm saying? I definitely support DC statehood, but also understand that nothing that they give us is going to be, actually as a benefit to the Black people. Like if Muriel Bowser runs for the Senate seat out here in DC, nothing is going to change. Like nothing, like we're not getting anything but more white supremacists upholding Democrats into the House, into the Senate. It's just more seats for these bullshit liberals to co-opt radical movements and take a very progressive area and turn it into like a bunch of like foolishness, honestly.
Well said. Do you got anything you want to ask our day to that before I get to some comments here?
Yeah, your votes don't matter, but I love y'all. I had to make sure, I had to make sure my stance was known. Electoral politics, ain't my thing, but I'm gonna let y'all take that one away. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't blame anyone who's not interested in electoral politics no more, especially when we have people donate to, working class people donate to, took a lot of their time into. Now we can't even get them to put Joe Biden left. Like, they apologizing for Jim Crow Joe, and you want to blame people for not being into electoral politics, especially black people who, like, we are the ones who are expected to not expect anything out of the government. Like, when you look at Asian American, like, oh, you better have an Asian American agenda, you better have a Latin American agenda. But meanwhile, black people, we were just expected to fall in line in the Democratic Party. So I'd be damned if anyone gonna convince me that black people should be invested in electoral politics. We got some great comments. Afeni is lighting the crowd on fire. That's for damn sure. Paul Smith is lighting some. He leaves some great comments. Keep it coming, guys. I'm sorry that I didn't get to some of the questions. I'm gonna get to some of that more as I find them here. But we can keep going all day, so I didn't want to hijack the conversation too much. But Paul Smith said white supremacy goes hand in hand with capitalism, imperialism, and the establishment. Amen, brother. What a great comment that is. White supremacists have infiltrated the police and the military. And this is another great point, because you understand these are the people that Joe Biden and the Democratic Party want to give more money to. And people think I'm crazy when I say this very, very simple fact. I said I don't think there's a public servant over the last maybe 40 years that has done more damage than Joe Biden. And when I say that, I challenge you guys. I'm like, if you guys can think someone else, let me know. Like, I'm open for you guys to challenge me on that. But you know who you're not gonna say? You're not gonna tell me Donald Trump done more damage in 4 years than Biden in 40. He did not mean apologizing for Trump, by the way. He was horrible. You guys know how I feel about his record. But people were thinking they're fighting white supremacy by voting for Joe Biden over Donald Trump, the guy who built this system, the guy who's upholding. What was you going to say? Go ahead. What was that?
No, that was the name. The nigga who wrote the crime bill. He literally wrote the crime bill. Like, it's literally insane that they literally. It's still insane, and then they're just like defending it. It's crazy.
Crime bill, trying to cut Social Security. That man, he like credit card companies exalted him. A+ rating from credit card companies, sir.
He voted to make it harder.
Pretend like George Bush or Donald Trump has done worse than Joe Biden has. But I mean, George Bush, Donald Trump, horrible people. You know what I'm saying? Horrible policies, horrible records. I can tell you right now that Joe Biden has done more damage to the black community and to this country than probably any other politician in our lifetime.
Yeah, easily. So the crime bill is the easy one to point out. That's the one everyone, even liberals at least talk about it. They don't want to talk about the implications of that, but they'll at least bring it up. But the bankruptcy bill is one that I covered a lot because I've been affected by the bankruptcy bill. I know people who've been affected by the bankruptcy bill. And the second op-ed I wrote was about how Medicare for all is the most pro-black policy. And one of the reasons why I said that is despite us only being 13% of the population, we hold 35% of the medical debt. 35%. Black women we have the highest infant mortality rate, and it's not even close. I mean, it's like 3 to 4 times higher than the white women in terms of infant mortality. So the state of black healthcare is dreadful in America right now. It's absolutely dreadful. So I wrote about that, and with that context in mind, you guys understand that Joe Biden supported an amendment that made it harder to get relief from medical debt. So, as I said, point out the crime bill is the easy path to explain why Biden has been horrible to the black community. But if you look at it economically and what things that actually support our life from welfare reform, which was actually them gutting welfare that he supported with Bill Clinton in the 90s, everything that actually had a real effect on our lives from an everyday point of view, not just like liberals, they love to talk about a criminal justice when black, because apparently criminal justice is the only thing that matters to black people. I'm talking like just financial. I can share a quick story. I got a check in the mail. I know all about this because I used to sell cars. I got a $1,000 check in the mail because my first car loan, I was a victim of predatory capitalism, where they actually had a lawsuit that was put on Toyota Financial and many other financial industries, where they were charging higher interest rate for Black Americans. And I mean, if you had a Black American with the same exact financial situation as a white person, the Black person will get charged. So what they found is when Black people were just starting out, when we had no credit, let's say just use even numbers. Household value $50,000. Black family, white family, no credit. The Black family was getting charged significantly higher interest rates. So they found it because it was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found, and they sued. They got their money back. You know who was a staunch advocate against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? Joe Biden. You know who voted for an amendment that made it harder to collect money after financial fraud that I just laid out? That was Joe Biden in the bankruptcy bill. Like the bankruptcy bill, I was screaming this on my show. I screamed this on my tweets. The crime bill is worth covering. Don't get me wrong. But the bankruptcy bill and the effects that had on the Black community is one of the most underreported things that I've seen throughout the course of the last 5 years in politics. Like people bring up, like, yeah, you know, he made harder on student loan debt. Who do you think is affected the most with student loan debt? Black Americans, Black women, by the way, take the most student loan debt out of any racial category in America. So when you see that Joe Biden made harder to fight against student loan debt, and he wanted to create the student loan debt crisis, it's not unreasonable for me to say that Biden literally created this debt-wage slave state that lived that affects Black Americans. So I bring that up because liberals that only talk about Black issues in the lens of criminal justice, because what they just see us as thugs, whether they now acknowledge it or not. But I'm talking about this affects everyone in their everyday lives. Kamala Harris, the vice president, weak on white collar crime, didn't convict the people who was going after African Americans and illegally foreclosing on their homes, taking Black wealth. That was Barack Obama, Eric Holder, that's their boys. Meanwhile, you guys wonder why I attack Democrats. Why you go after Democrats so much, Nick? Why? This is why you should watch Fred Hampton Leftists. You get to see why. This is exactly like, once again, if Joe Biden had his way, I would have never got that check. Because that check they calculated, because that's just how much extra. And then, by the way, because I'm in the car industry, that number was definitely lowered because because Toyota Financial and a lot of the car businesses, once they got sued and they had to settle, they had to negotiate on the settlement. So they negotiated that number down. So that's supposed to be the amount of interest I paid, more than the average white person in my same financial situation. Now, I remember what it's like to be in my early 20s. I was broke as hell, by the way. Broke as all hell. Imagine if I didn't have that extra interest I had paid. Can you imagine how much that would have affected my life at the time? This is the reality of what it means to be a Black American under Joe Biden's policy. And meanwhile, white leftists and white progressives, they can say Joe Biden has horrible policy, but can they actually outline why? This is why you gotta listen to people of color and Black leftists, people that can actually outline what they've been through because of the policies that the neoliberal establishment lays out. Anyone want to chime in? Because I went for a while, and I'll find some more comments.
I just really feel like white leftists, like all those white leftists that really feel like they're just too high and mighty to actually listen to Black people and to actually listen to Black communists about the things that we want, on how to fight for different things. The way, like, even like the whole forced to vote debate, and the way all of that went, and like just the way that they attacked a Black woman because of her idea, like because of a white man, and all the other bullshit, like just the way they just openly disrespect Black people and our like real place in this discussion is just very disheartening, to say the least, especially considering a lot of these people who like first opened my eyes to kind of how trash the establishment was, and then I kind of went farther on the rabbit hole, and here I am. But like these were like a lot of these people, like they are a lot of people's like gateway, and like some people are going to look for more information, and some people are really just going to sit there and believe all that same fucking bullshit liberal propaganda that these white leftists are spewing on their podcast as well. So it's just disheartening.
Yeah, I want to get to my other topic. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Scott Daddy?
No, I agree.
All right, so One more thing I want to throw in that because I talk about all these issues. I'm a policy nerd. That's honestly what it is. Like a lot of times I just talk about this stuff because I can't turn that part of my brain off. So it's not because I don't think it's gonna actually like change, but I just love looking to this kind of stuff. So one thing that is a shock to liberal consciousness is the fact that racial wealth inequality right now is worse than it was in the height of the civil rights era. That one of the things you hear like what? Meanwhile, Democratic politicians like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Jim Clyburn are agreeing with Tim Scott that we are not a racist country. So you know where the Democratic Party stands on that. So do you guys know why? I just laid out one reason why. And this is the analysis you will not get on these white progressive shows. Like even the ones I like, I told you I like some of these people. That's why I'm not using their name. Like I watch some of their content. That's why I'm able to criticize them. Like you're not gonna get this analysis on these shows. So why, despite the fact that we live in a brutally racist country in the 60s and the 50s, why are things worse right now? Because you gotta look at all the issues that together. Once again, I just laid out medical debt. I laid out how you had credit card companies that go after us. We pay more in loans. We pay more in mortgage rates because of predatory capitalism. And now, why am I a police abolitionist? You guys know what I'm saying. Who is affected the most by legal fees? Like we are the ones who are targeted most, pulled over by far the most because of broken windows policing. And then they have a thing called civil asset forfeiture. You guys know that? White leftists, who do you think is targeted by that? I looked into the numbers when I write my numbers on police abolition. They do it locally. There's not a national number on this. It was very hard to find, but you gotta look in local areas where they track this. The number always float around 55 to 75% of the people who are affected by civil asset forfeiture are Black Americans. Now add that to the fact that civil asset forfeiture is still more money from the working class than criminal burglary does. Now you know where the fuck Black wealth goes. We grind, we hustle, and we build wealth despite the fact that we live in a system that's broken against us. This is what racists don't understand. We're like, oh, Black people are lazy. Black people, they don't know. They're broke because they can't see. Bro, you guys understand that we got no benefits of the New Deal programs. We get no benefit from government programs. We build wealth up, and then the economy crashes like it does every 5 to 8 years because the system is broken. And then white people get bailouts from the government. They get bailed out from the government. Black businesses, by the way, were rejected at an insane rate compared to white businesses when it came to the Paycheck Protection Program and many of the bailouts they were giving. Black businesses were excluded by that by a large number. So we build our wealth up in this broken ass system. The shit crashes because capitalism is trash, and then we lose all our wealth, and then we got to start all over again. This happens every 10 years, and then you got Black capitalists still out here. You got people still defending capitalism despite the fact that what just laid out is happening. You got Black capitalists who reject our revolutionary leaders who were socialists and who was anti-capitalist. And now we got a worse financial situation right now than the civil rights era. And you know who puts back on me when I say that shit? I say this, and I have white liberals like, bro, you out of your mind if you think racism is bad right now. It's not conservatives. White liberals tell me that. You guys wonder why I'm like, do you have anything you want to? I know you, Afeni, you about to pop off. What did you about to say before I continue?
It's just because we're not being bitten by dogs and sprayed down in the street in our suits the same way. Like you think that racism isn't bad. Like you think that Black workers being disproportionately kept out of unions and our wage is disproportionately being lower, and we also don't get we don't get to get like the higher education that is going to get you the higher paying job. And even if you do get the higher education, you still get paid less. And you're wondering why we're saying the things that we're saying. And that's what I feel like that's kind of what irritates me the most is I feel like a lot of the times people are trying to white-splain the racial situation right now. And the very fact that you feel like it is your place to explain to me the state of racism as a Black queer person in this country, the fact that you feel like you have the fucking right to explain this shit to me lets me know that racism is alive and motherfucking well every goddamn day.
The same white leftists they will argue against people of color about why they can't use the N-word. Like, bro, what you explain this to me? These are the people that think they are our allies, and then they get mad at me and Skye Daddy when we call them out on their bullshit. Because I'm very clear. Post Bernie Sanders, I've been very disappointed with the progressive movement because the progressive movement don't care about police violence. The progressive movement do not care about foreign policy. These people put all Black Lives Matter in their bios, but they're silent about how Haitian immigrants are treated. Progressive politicians said Joe Biden exceeded expectations. Pramila Jayapal gave Joe Biden an A when Joe Biden deported more Haitian immigrants in 1 month than Donald Trump did entire last year. So when you say that Joe Biden is doing a great job despite the fact that he's doing worse than Trump on Haitian immigrants, that's telling me that you don't think Black Lives Matter. Because if you're not anti-imperialist, you don't believe Black Lives Matter. Sorry, guys. Sorry to burst your bubble. If you don't support defund the police, you're actively complicit with white supremacy. And that's what we are on our show trying to let you guys know. And that's why I have a ton of respect and I love, and we bring a lot of people on our show. We believe in a Rainbow Coalition. When you have a real white ally who stands with you on these issues, the people that actually support police abolition, the people that actually talk about foreign policy, the people that actually criticize Joe Biden for the way he treated Haitian immigrants. The U.S. Embassy made a tweet. They was like, Haitian immigrants do not come. Like on some straight up Donald Trump stuff. Like if Trump tweeted out, liberals would have lost their goddamn mind.
Lost their shit.
But Joe Biden does it. It's cool though. It's okay because in their mind, whether they admit it or not, they believe that Haitian immigrants deserve it. So when I tell you guys that Black Americans are victims of civil asset forfeiture at a 55 to 70% rate, just know that your queen, Vice President Kamala Harris, supported that policy. So what did that tell you? That means she inherently believed that we deserve to be searched. You have Eric Adams, and you had the Hillary Clinton sycophant that always go after me. She's a supporter of Eric Adams. Eric Adams is running for mayor in New York City right now, a Black Democrat. He supports stop and frisk. In the year 2021, we have Black Democrats supportive of stop and frisk. Why does Nick always go after Democrats? This is why.
Because Democrats are fucking bullshitters. Because they're liars. Like Democrats are literally liars. Like, just be honest. Like that. I feel like that's the only thing that you can kind of respect about the Republican Party. Like at least they're honest about the fact that they're white. Like they're doing white identity politics. Like they don't care about you. Like and they're honest about that. They'll tell you, oh no, we're trying to get these tax cuts for these big businesses. That's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? We're honest with the fact that we're not trying to get tax cuts for you. You know what I'm saying? It's just with Democrats, it's just like you pretend that you actually give a fuck, and you just really do not. You just don't.
Yeah, that's such a brilliant point. Because that's why I said Republicans are easy to beat. I'm not scared of them. Like I used to be one of those people that attack Republicans all the time. Because back when I was a liberal and I thought that Democrats actually worked for us, but when I still propaganda, I used to go out there all the time. And I'm like, bro, shit, nothing changes because we need to go after the people that. Like the people who stopped Medicare for all last year, believe it or not, despite what liberal mind will tell you, it wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't Fox News. You know why you don't have healthcare right now? You don't have healthcare right now because of Barack Obama, because of Joe Biden, because of Pete Buttigieg, because of Elizabeth Warren. They're the reason why, not because of the Republican Party. That's the reason why you don't got healthcare, by the way. So I want to shift to this because we about 70 minutes in already. Like we can go all day on this super engaging conversation. I apologize for anyone leaving great comments. Please leave them. Keep them going because I still want to get to the comments at the end of the day. Like, I still see a lot of them because there's a lot of great discussion going on in the chat. And I appreciate everyone who's watching. If you enjoy this conversation, like if you leave a like right now to help us out on the algorithm, and I ask this of you guys a lot because you guys, like most people on the left, know the state of independent media, independent news. Like the algorithm is doing us no favors. Like I'm looking at the analytics on who people to see our videos. I tweet our videos out all the time because literally the only way people see our videos is through our tweets. Like they're not showing up. Like the only boost CNN, MSNBC, authoritarian news sources. The algorithm doesn't help us. So I'm literally asking you guys to like it and to share it because that's the only way our message get out there. That's the only way we can grow on the channel. That's why I got a lot of respect and I got a lot of love for people like Ron Pacone, like people who go on the platform us, like the Vanguard, like Misty, like all these people that actually wanted to give us a hearing. Ryan Knight, a lot of people put because this is that's the only way we can grow is by word of mouth. So I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation and leave a like and support the show. But the next conversation I want to talk about, because we laid out our frustration over the last 70, 75 minutes with liberals, the Democratic Party, and I feel like I was very careful in outlining why I see them as a big threat, just like I consider the Republican Party to be a big threat. And luckily for me, a lot of people in my life are apolitical. But this is a hurdle a lot of young black leftists come around to all the time. Is convincing our family members, convincing people who are still on this plantation that the Democratic Party don't give a fuck about you. So I want to ask both of you guys, because I canvassed for Bernie's speech, talking about socialism. But when I did that, I was doing it to radicalize my people, because I was like, even though I was canvassing for Bernie, I was discussing the healthcare issue. I was discussing the criminal justice. I was discussing all the issues that affect our communities, and I had a great success. Like when I talk to black people, when I talk about these issues, they see exactly where I'm coming from. It's just the propaganda. It's the propaganda that gets us. That's why I want to spend this last segment before we get to the questions and wrap up. Is I want to get your guys' thoughts on how you communicate with black people you know, spreading your ideology as a black left, and how do you peel? I'll start with Skye Daddy first. How do you peel away our people from this system that does not care about us? Like, how do you get them to actually fight for us instead of just voting for people or caring about politicians? Like, what is your strategy?
I think it's going to be different, for everybody. For me, again, because I don't believe in electoral politics at all, I go about it completely different. I'm always like, nigga, when has fucking voting ever helped us? When has fucking, if they're killing, did they kill Fred Hampton because he was doing something? Did they kill fucking Malcolm X because he was doing something? Anything that picks up steam, fucking Black Wall Street, what happened to it? Anything that ever picked up steam in the black community, these motherfuckers stump out from the government, the actual government. Why, vote? So for me, I'm always saying that's the way I go about it. Like, nigga, voting ain't gonna do shit. They don't care about your black ass vote. Like, if we're in a white supremacist fucking system, why would these white supremacists care about your fucking opinion? That's what I fucking tell them. So I think inside electoral politics, I think the problem is there's nowhere to go. There's Republicans. Yeah, we all know that's not a fucking really a welcoming place to go. Why the fuck? I know some black Republicans do it. Okay, good for you. Then you have leftists, but we don't have propaganda, and there's not a fucking a consensus in between. You have some people who are leftists and they're fuck with AOC, which is why I call myself an anti-authoritarian who falls on the left, because people who worship AOC are leftists. People who worship the political system are leftists. Like, leftist, that term means just a slightly different Democrat at this point, because that's what they're turning it into. So I think for inside electoral politics, you have to create a system, a place where there's somewhere to go, But with liberals, again, it's hard because they're liberal because of propaganda. So unless you guys got a media conglomerate, you got in, I don't know how you really help inside electoral politics with that, because it's all propaganda, man. And how do we fight that with what we have, Unless you do it like grassroots movements and trying to influence through helping, trying to influence through mutual aid. Once you start a movement and people see, hey, they're taking care of this community, they're taking care of that, maybe I can do that, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe there is hope, inside of this political situation. But other than that, I think it's truly a hard thing to cure liberalism, because it really is a disease. It's literally a disease.
Yeah, we'll say like I got out of it because I was just a nerd, and I became a nerd because I realized how much of my public education was bullshit. So then I became very curious, because I was only like I always joke about how I was a stupid lib, but I honestly always was anti-establishment in a way that I was against the Iraq War. I just came to the wrong conclusion where I thought the solution to that was something it wasn't. So I always had initial anti-establishment mindset. I was just led off a cliff. That's a common theme. I always attack people I feel like are leading the left and leading black people off a cliff. So it took a very, very long time to unlearn this. Is I remember like after high school when I had a college course, and the course was like we had a good professor. I don't remember the name, but he wanted people like, yo, what you learned in post school was trash. I'm gonna tell you what actually happened. He was a pretty good teacher, and I had a history class. And that was like one of the few classes. I hate school. That was one of the few classes I was in that motherfucker every day. Like, what? Like taking notes? Like I remember I legitimately loved that class. And that's why I'm like, man, I probably should have went to school for this instead of programming. The programming bored me after a while. But I remember that class. That was like the first thing that broke the seed. Then I start reading a little bit more into history. then I looked into Malcolm X and actually learned who he was. Because when I was in public school, they told us that like Malcolm X was the bad guy and MLK was like the good one.
Yeah.
And you guys gotta understand the only way they accomplished that, the only way you can even accomplish that, you gotta whitewash the shit out of MLK to do that. So it was like it was like a double whammy. So not only was they completely wrong about Malcolm X, they were whitewashing MLK. So my point is, it took me so long to break this brainwashing out of myself. And I always joke like I'm lucky that I wasn't on Twitter like back in like 2012 and 13. Like you guys would have found some screenshots. Like you guys were like this is cringe. I like one of the few that because I didn't post on Twitter a lot back then. I'll bring you this on after this Afeni. I quote tweeted because I was laughing at myself. Well, I had a tweet like, I was like happy when Obama won in 2012, and I was like, guys, look how I used to think. Like the idea of me cheerleading for Obama now is insanity, but that's the brainwashing that it took me to overwrite. So I want to bring the question to Afeni, like, what has your experience been like talking to like black people or anyone, honestly, if you want to bring up that have been brainwashed by liberalism, and how do you get them to approach like what I call black liberation politics, where we advocate for our community and stop standing politicians?
Well, I definitely think it starts with mutual aid, like Scott Daddy was saying, definitely echoing that, because mutual aid is a political act. And I feel like the issue that a lot of mutual aid groups are having right now is the fact that they're kind of missing the political education part of it. But we have to learn how to organize outside of the government. I feel like I'm not centering the police also, because I feel like the more we center the police, the more people kind of lose the community message of it. And Black people really need to realize that a lot of the things that we are asking for are in direct benefit to them. And because, there has not been a single political campaign that has actually framed a lot of these issues from a Black perspective, I feel like a lot of Black people they can't see it. They can't see it. Because we're not like these things aren't being told to us. If you're not on Twitter, if you're not, in that kind of like bubble, you don't know all these statistics. You don't know how this is a community, like these could be community wide issues depending on what you're talking about. So I feel like when you're talking to Black people, it's really about just connecting us all and just really trying to kind of find that common ground, because we're not monolithic. We all have different things. We all have different experiences. I know personally for me, I was spoiled as fuck. I grew up in an all white neighborhood with all white people. So like my experience with the police, and other people's experiences with police are completely different. But I've researched and done that extra step to decolonize my mind. So when I talk to Black people, like it's really just more about that, and organizing within the government. Honestly, like I don't think that the politicians that we currently have in office give a good goddamn about any of us. I feel like maybe Cori Bush, maybe only because she was the activist before she did this. Like she was out here screaming the same things that we're screaming. She got fucked up by the police just like we did. Like maybe Cori Bush, but even that, like more of us just need to run. Has always been my solution. All these radical Black leftists need to run, because white people aren't going to do it. AOC should have never been the fucking representative for people of color and for Black people, because at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, it needs to be a Black radical person at the forefront of the left movement. It needs to be a Black trans person, a Black non-binary person, a Black person that actually has a real intersectional experience of the oppression of this system to lead the left and actually to craft the messaging around it. Because we will continue to have these stupid ass whitewashed conversations, these fucking circle jerk ass conversations that they have up there on the Hill, until we actually get some real Black radical representation into the House. Now that takes a lot of grassroots organizing. That takes a lot of mobilizing people to do the door knocking, to the canvassing. Or, we could just do the other thing. We just revolt and strike. I mean, I don't know. Strikes, if we do it successfully, strikes can take 7 to 8 months to actually plan. If you don't want to do it through the government and you just want to get rid of it. I'm the communist. I am completely okay with there not being a state whatsoever.
We love to see it. I've been dragged to the left, and I'm there too. Like I straight up call myself a narcissist now. Like anyone who follow my YouTube, I used to be the progressive martial artist. I dropped the progressive. I had to change that because I told you guys the progressive movement kind of make me sick now, like straight up. But I love with your answer, Kyle. You talk about how we got engaged in mutual aid, start striking, protesting. I see a lot of good questions. I'm gonna take a few of these questions here soon. I know we're about an hour and a half in, but I feel bad missing some of these comments. But I think like if you ask my opinion. I'm very tired of people just selling hope. I mean, because when you sell hope, that's an easy way it clicks. Oh, follow me, do this, and we keep fighting. Donate to rebel headquarters, and we stay in the game. Like, if you get ask my opinion of my state of Black Americans right now politically, we're screwed. Like, we are expected to not ask for anything politically. Nationally, we are ignored. I mean, we had young Black people don't volunteer so much of my time. Not me because I've seen the game already, but some like Black people won the Senate for the Democrats in Georgia. Like there are Black people that did that. Like that's the
Won
constituents that
everything
win.
for
Yeah,
Joe Biden over
yeah.
this
Black
last.
people did everything for Biden and the Democratic Party. Like there's no winning Georgia without Black people. But meanwhile, Black people were just expected to shut the fuck up and vote for the party. Because you gotta understand, that's why they hate me. Like that's my only crime is saying I'm not voting for Joe Biden unless we actually get something for it. And people hate me for it. That's my only crime. So what they tell me, what these white liberals tell me, shut the fuck up, trust the plan. That's what we are nationally and that's what we are politically. And we are stuck there because we are co-signed to have Black leaders who don't fight for us. Kamala Harris, who actually an instrument of our oppression instead of someone who actually fight on our behalf. She's an imperialist. She voted against a 10% military budget. Guys, you know, by the way, the military have been actively polluting the Black community. Not going to see that on MSNBC. How many of the white YouTube shows cover that story, by the way? I did. You know the whole thing about the military literally polluting our communities? Nah, just a footnote. So if you ask me what our chances of actually changing stuff nationally is not good. Not good at all. We screw politically. So what my answer? My answer is you gotta live like a socialist and a communist.
Exactly.
You gotta reject the capitalist way of living.
Exactly.
Like have your parent live with you. Have multi generations in your household. Because by the way, the only reason why they sell you the idea that you should move out of high school and be on your own independent is to sell more homes. Like before society that was beyond that was super rare. Like before like if you look at Latino communities, old African tribes, like Asian Pacific Islanders, and a lot of these indigenous people, they always lived in an anti-capitalist way, and then capitalism took over and they brainwashed people. So that's why that was a long way for me saying that's why I love your answer about mutual aid, because these are the way we gotta fight back now. Like you can't be one of these people that sell out your community to make your boss rich. Black capitalism broke people's fucking brain. You got people just making it rain on Instagram. Meanwhile, Black people are 40% of the homeless population. Black capitalism broke our community's brains, and that pissed people off when I say that. Jay-Z, Michael Jordan, all these people broke our brains. You want to hustle for $100 shoes instead of taking care of your neighbor. Like you guys understand, it's not like that in the Asian community. Like they take care of each other. So I'm going on a little bit of tangent here, but this is why we need a true revolution. Yeah, that's why I said 40%. My Twitch comment, like what? Yeah, despite us being 13% of the population, Black people are 40% of the homeless population. Meanwhile, LeBron James, Beyonce, they balling. You know how easy it would be for our Black celebrities to pull the resources together to buy hotels in Black communities to solve this homelessness crisis? They don't do it because they don't give a fuck because Black capitalism broke their brain.
Exactly.
Like they have so much money. Like it's kind of ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous how much money these motherfuckers have that they're just not giving back to the Black community. And the same thing with like Black Lives Matter, like all those organizations that have raised money off of Black grief and have not given back to any of these Black people. Samira Rice being homeless, but Patrisse Cullors buying $1 million mansion does not make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like we have to be more comfortable with the idea that we are a valuable enough people to invest in. And I feel like a lot of Black people, because of the propaganda, because of the way we've been broken down in this country, they've really forgotten the value of our community, the value of our community bonds. And yes, you see that superficial bullshit on the internet when we all, but like all, again, it's all superficial. It's about, more about gatekeeping our culture than it is about actually protecting our Black bodies and being very militant in that protection, because white people are very militant in their protection of everything.
Hell yeah.
They're
Hell
very
yeah.
militant in their protection of everything. So why is it that Black people are not allowed to say, you know what, fuck it, we're going to invest in ourselves, we're going to take care of our own communities, we're going to actually stick together in this way that hasn't really been seen in this country since chattel slavery. I don't know. Like it's just, I feel like it's not that hard to not be a capitalist asshole. Like it's not that hard. At the end of the day, like we're never going to be Jeff Bezos. We cannot, like, I don't care what nobody says. Like every single rich, successful person that you see has rich, successful parents. If you look up the opportunity atlas, you look at your zip code, your race, and all that other stuff, it'll tell you exactly what you're tracked to be and what other people in your community are tracked to be. This shit has already been set up for us. Our places in this system has already been set up for us. So for Black people to really not fight for themselves doesn't really make any sense, because we're always going to be placed at the bottom. If we continue to try to work within the system, they're going to continuously push us to the bottom. They're going to make it harder. So we need to be militant in our Blackness. We need to be militant in our value and asserting our value when they try to fucking step on it. Because fuck you, white people, on some real shit. Like, period.
I feel you. So we're an hour and a half in. I'm sorry I took you guys on. Do you guys have 15 minutes? I know it's an hour and a half, but I think we can wrap up in 15 minutes. That's good for you guys? All right, awesome.
I can't.
But we wrap up very soon. I hope you guys been enjoying this conversation, because this is the perspective you get out from Black leftists, and you're not going to hear the kind of conversation come from people unless they actually have that experience. And that perspective I want people to understand. That's why I have no sympathy for anyone who puts Black capitalism, because that's one of the numbers that shock people consciousness when I say Black people are 40% of homelessness population, and they use Black millionaires as a way to get people to realize the system is not broken. And then the Black capitalists, the Black millionaires, they go along with it. So what white conservatives and what a lot of liberals actually do, they say there's actually a record amount of Black millionaires right now. Now, doesn't this show you exactly how bad it is? Because despite the fact we have so many millionaires, the racial wealth gap is still worse than it was in the height of the civil rights era. That means we have an extremely top-heavy community. We have a community of straight-up haves and have-nots. And W.B. Du Bois wrote about this and warned us about this. Like, this is something that our Black intellectual leaders have been warning us about. Malcolm X warned us about this racial wealth divide between the Black community. We had the Black bourgeoisie who fights on behalf of the white liberal establishment, and they actually stand for the forces of oppression that victimize our community, because that's how they fit in with their club. It's all class. Like they friends with the upper bourgeoisie. That's why you have Jay-Z. They're friends with Beyonce. I remember they used to do concerts back in my day. I used to see those concerts like, yo, you see that Jay-Z Beyonce concert? They had Barack Obama. Like, bro, it's part of the club. They are helping promote him. And how many of these Black liberals do you see calling out? Like I was supportive of Obama, and then I'm like, okay, I guess you disappointed me. Now call him out. How many of those Black capitalists do you see calling out Obama for taking Black wealth? Is that something that just slipped their mind? No, they don't care, because that's Obama's part of their club. That's part of their team. And that's why I make it a conservative effort to go after these Black liberals as much as I go after any other liberal class, because that's what we got to do at Black leftists. Because unfortunately, even we have allies that call people like Jim Clyburn and Barack Obama, the intellectually dishonest liberals and leftist establishment we're talking about, they silence our white allies by saying, oh, you're just racist. So personally, I take it upon myself. Like, that's why they hate me. This is why they block me. This is why they despise me, because they can't just call me a racist when I tell people that Barack Obama is a piece of shit. That the Democrat Party is not for Black people. They can't just shut us out. That's why it's important to amplify these voices. With that said, I want to pass to Skye Daddy, because we're gonna wrap it up here very soon. You're working on a podcast, aren't you? You got anything you want to share about that?
Yes, it's going to be May 12th. It's going to be on Rockfin. I'll try to stream it on YouTube, but I don't see it staying up or doing well there. It's going to be on Rockfin. And it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. It's going to be about politics, but it's also going to be about sexuality. It's going to be about gender relations. If you follow my Twitter, just controversial shit, everything that people don't want to talk about, I'm gonna talk about probably that.
Yeah, this is definitely a panel we gotta do pretty regularly. There was a great comment. Like, so I got so much. Like, I didn't get to I didn't get through like half my outline, but I don't want to keep you guys all day. And there's still a lot of great comments to read. I apologize because I'm looking through it now. And you guys are dropping some great facts. Like Mike said, debt is the biggest barrier to leaving the capitalism mindset due to far scarcity. We have plenty of resources for people to live. They just hoard it. First thing we need to do is abolish our debt. I sold cars, guys.
Enough food to feed 10 billion people, and
Yes.
yet millions of people still starve globally.
Yes, great point. That's such a great point. Anyway, like, there's so many to comment. I do apologize I didn't get to read these comments because I usually do. Maybe I'll take a little more time on next time we on here because it was such a great conversation. We definitely gotta make this a regular thing because I hope you guys enjoy Afeni because this is like her Fred Hampton left his debut, and we have our co-hosts, but I consider us a giant family. Like Skye Day's friend of the show, Afeni to be friend of the show. So whenever you're available, we love to have you back on because I think you like you said so many things perfectly. I think a lot of people resonate with what you had to say today. So we definitely gotta get you back on.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'll put A1's information in the comments here. Let me find our Twitter ads. Is there anything that you guys want to plug? Anything you guys want to say before you guys sign off? I know I kept you guys a little long, but I didn't even get half through this. I didn't get through half my outline here, so we got plenty to talk about. We got to do it against them. But anything you guys want to plug?
Just don't get caught up in identity politics. Y'all know how I feel about voting. Fuck all that shit. Direct action. And love you guys. Appreciate it. You did amazing. Glad to have you on today.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of stuff to plug. I do.
Any last thoughts?
Hmm.
Any thoughts you want to end in? Any like things you want to end with? Final
Really
thoughts on
just
this?
honestly, one of my like founding principles of like my decolonization of my mind has been really fundamentally understanding like how valuable human beings are in this revolution and how important it is for all of us as leftists to instill that value into people, because I feel like this system teaches you that you're not valuable enough to represent yourself if you're a Black person. That's the reason why, they're continuously stripping away our voting rights. This system teaches you that you're not valuable enough to have healthcare, or that your life doesn't matter if you're not of a certain tax bracket. And that's why so many people are trapped in this, constant cycle of capitalism and thinking that, one day they'll find the magic formula that doesn't exist on how to be rich. But we are all valuable human beings outside of our productivity for capitalism, in this capitalist system. And we all just really need to stick together. We all just need to really find that common ground and take the government down, because they're the enemy, truly, not us.
Yeah, perfectly said. Perfectly said. I appreciate everyone for watching. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this episode. Hit the bell because we upload every day and we have so many great projects. Like as we speak right now, I think Jackie is interviewing Richard Wolf, which I really wish I had a chance to talk to him, but Jackie's gonna kill it. I know she's gonna do a great job. So that's coming out. Like we're still gonna have a conversation with Justin Jackson, I believe tomorrow with CJ. Like we got so many good guests coming up, and I announced that we got Dr. Cornell West that may come on, which I'm still kind of shook about. I just want to send my condolences to his beautiful mother, Irene West. She passed away, so we're gonna be very respectful to my mentor and give him a lot of time to grieve. And after that, we're gonna schedule him shortly after. I'm very looking forward to that episode. And once again, we got a lot of great guests down the pipeline, and we upload every day. So please follow, subscribe, leave a like, hit the bell because we will be coming. And once again, they're not the last you we're gonna see from Afeni, right?
No, I'll be back.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you guys for watching. This is Social Cinema with Fred Hampton Leftist. We are signing out. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye, y'all.